Alright, so we're trying a new setup here. We'll see how it goes. So, alright. Notes on today's mindfulness class. Which, if you're in Cartersville, is every Saturday, 10:30 to noon. Today, Sherry led the class. It was excellent. We had a lot of people. It was really good. We had a bunch of new people, also really good. Because the whole point is to try to get this vibe out there that people can pay attention to their thoughts, their emotions, and make better decisions. So yeah, today's class was on anger. It started generally about conflict, but it really evolved into anger issues, right? Dealing with that not only within ourselves, but also with other people. So, for instance, anger manifests itself in all different kinds of ways. Depression, anxiety, fear, worry, all of these things are related. It can have different levels. So it can have, anger can be annoyance, frustration, it can be rage. I think the point where mindfulness is useful begins with simply acknowledging that that emotion exists. In our culture today, it's very easy to say that, those other assholes out there make me angry. Because they don't care about people, or they're running our country into the dirt. They're assholes, right? Why are you texting in traffic? Pay attention, for Pete's sake. It's always out there. And so we don't acknowledge the fact that that's our response. The world is the world. Has always been the world. It's always going to be the world. If you begin with the idea, this ownership of the fact that I am angry, I am pissed off, then it provides the space for you to change. Perhaps anger is useful in that situation, perhaps not. But until you own it, you can't decide. You don't have an option. Anger has you, not the other way around. And I see this in myself. I see this in guys too, in particular, in this particular manner. My wife is like, "Why are you so angry?" I'm like, "I'm not angry." But people responding to your tone, to your presence, your body language, not just the words that you're using. And that's important to keep in mind. I am angry. I am choosing my words, but my body, my presence, my issues are still coming out, just not in the manner that was useful in that situation. So you got to own it. You have to be aware of it. And that's what your mindfulness practice is for. Being aware of it, owning that. That's your emotion. From there, you can decide, hey, is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? One of the topics that came up was, how do you respond? And in the same way that anger has a lot of different levels, everything from like annoyance all the way on up to murderous rage, your response varies too. Sometimes it's just understanding that you're having a bad day and the other person hasn't done anything. It's all on you. So maybe at that point, your best bet is just to acknowledge that and let that shit go. It could be that there's a situation that needs to be worked out. Perhaps you can't just go, okay, that was me, my bad, because you're in traffic, you're never going to see that person again. You drive on, let that go, right? But sometimes you have to be with that person. It's a boss, a coworker, it's your spouse, your kid. And so you have to find a better solution. You know, you have to accept the fact, okay, so I'm angry, you know, how can I choose to respond to that? In a broader spectrum, you have the idea of, uh, let's look at political action or social injustice, right? Whether there are things that you feel are necessary for a better world, a better culture, a better planet to leave your kids, um, a better place to live on your block. You know, sometimes there are issues that need to be approached. Is anger going to be an effective tool or a hindrance? Are people going to listen to you because I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? Or do you need to try something different? Sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes you need to be mad as hell and not take it anymore. But unless you own that, unless you understand that that is an option, not a necessity, then it has you. You don't have it. We also discussed the fact that, you know, hey, sometimes I get caught up in saying there are bad people in the world. You know, and I don't really feel that way anymore. I don't think there are bad people in that world. But there are people whose actions can't be tolerated. That we can't abide by that. And sometimes there's no recourse to that except, for instance, physical violence, because that's kind of my background. So I'm taking this all the way to the extreme. You know, and there are ways to escalate and de-escalate that. You know, taking care of your drunk uncle, he's deluded, he's inebriated, he's got issues, you got to deal with him. You're going to have to deal with him physically. It doesn't mean you have to hate him, right? It doesn't mean that you can't have compassion for the fact that, you know, he's had a rough life, he's made some bad choices, and this is one of them. But at the same time, you can't let him get behind the wheel and go out and potentially kill himself or other people, right? All the way up to the fact that, well, you know, there are some people who they want to cause damage to other people for whatever reason. Sometimes it's because they're mentally off. Sometimes they're mentally off because of drugs, alcohol, etc. Sometimes it's because of their abuse or whatever. Sometimes they just have differing goals than you, and they believe that the world would be better with you not in it. That doesn't mean that you have to hate that person. It doesn't mean that you have to, well, I mean, the phrase is sink to their level, right? It's a different level of thinking. I can understand that certain behaviors have to be changed, right, in other people in order for everybody to kind of get along. You know, a rising tide lifts all boats. But at the same time, I don't have to indulge in that belief that those people are vermin to be exterminated. Because they're not. They're just people. People are people. And, you know, you have to deal with them. And if you deal with them as people, your outcomes, you have a lot more options. Looking at it from that perspective, sometimes you have the options to de-escalate. Sometimes you don't. But if you go in with the mindset that I'm not angry, it's those people that are the problem, right? If you're not dealing with your own stuff, then your options become severely limited, right? Because what are your options at that point? You get the police to deal with them, you get the military to deal with them. And how do they deal with them? They either lock them up or they kill them, right? We want more options than that. Mindfulness is about providing you options. It's about providing you that space by taking ownership of your own brain. And it, you know, it starts with owning the fact that you can get angry. You can get pissed off. And people do. And you're a people. So own that. In that ownership, by owning that, you own your own power. That was one of the other topics today, too, is anger is energy. Public Image Limited, great song. Anger is an energy. And I don't mean that in a mystic woo-woo kind of way. You can take it that way, and that's cool. But what I mean is that, you know, it's an emotion that evokes this desire to do something. You know, even if that something is write a tirade on Facebook, you know, it's an energy. So own it. Own that energy and use it wisely. Mindfulness is a key for doing that effectively, in my opinion. So anyway, it was a great class. A lot of stuff to think about. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week too. Pilar's going to be teaching. It's going to be awesome. I don't know what the subject matter is, but stay tuned. It'll be cool. Join us, Cartersville Public Library, 10:30 to noon. Check us out on Facebook, Mindful Living and Meditation. Yeah, I'm continuing the 10 minutes a day for the rest of July as a consistent practice. I'm actually doing a little bit more than that because I'm not at work right now. I'm still, you know, during the summer months I work for the school system, so I got time. But I'm doing my basic, you know, 10 minutes a day, just working on that. So it's really cool. Join me. It'll be awesome. And the rain's coming. So I'm going to sign off, but thanks for joining me. See you next time.